Alright, this is my Ninja 300 that I use for the track, and I was out there last week and the clutch was slipping, so I bought a new race clutch for it, and today we're going to figure out how to install one. Never done it before, but it doesn't look too difficult. So this is where it is located, and the first thing we're going to do is drain all of the engine oil out of this thing. Alright, that's not quite true. The first thing we're going to do is soak the clutch plates. This is the race clutch that I'm going to be putting in, and I'm going to be using this Maxima racing oil when I replace my oil. So I just recently learned that you should use the old dinosaur oil, not synthetics, in this bike, so the clutch plates will be too slippery with synthetics and not catch as well. And you can either use like a gallon-sized Ziploc bag or an old one of these laying around, because you want to soak the clutch plates in oil for at least 2 to 3 hours before you do this, so that the oil gets all in between them before you put them together. So we're going to go ahead and do that now. All right, some oil. And make sure you have a container that's big enough for the clutch plate to actually fit in. Okay, now take the clutch plates. Just one at a time. Make sure that has lots of oil. Some more. Sure it's covered before you put the next one on top, because that's the whole point of this. All right, now that we have those soaking, we can go ahead and do some disassembly in the meantime. So this right here is going to be our oil drain plug. So we're going to undo that. Make sure you have an oil cap pan underneath. All right, this thing is a 17 millimeter. Room to work with here. After you just get it started, you can do it by hand. I'm keeping pressure pressed into this to make sure that the oil doesn't start pouring out onto my hand until I'm ready, hopefully. And pull it away. All right, we're just gonna let that drain. All right, while that finishes draining up, we can go ahead and we're gonna need to remove this fairing here. So there's a 4 millimeter bolt here, another one down there, and this is bigger. Let's see. Yeah, looks like a 5 millimeter on that one. I'll try to refrain from dropping it or the little plastic washer into the oil. All right, here you can see there are two more pop rivets, one right here and one underneath that we have to pop off. It's hard to see them under there, but this is what they look like. So you just get a flathead screwdriver under it, pop this piece up, and then you pull the whole piece out. And with them removed, you can disassemble this. There are tabs up here and down here. You just gotta work free carefully so you don't break them. All right, next there are 9 8mm bolts around this thing. 1, 2, 3 hiding back here. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So you want to keep these in order. Some bikes, they're different lengths for different ones. So just to play it safe, I'm going to start at the sight glass here and remove going clockwise, and after I take them off, some people trace this out on a piece of cardboard and punch the holes where these go and stick them in there, but I'm just gonna lay them out on the ground in order, make sure they stay in order going this way, and I'll just remember that I started here. If I forgot, I can go back and look at this video.
These are torqued down really tight.
Let me show you the reason they're important to keep in order already. After taking out the first two, they are a different size. The first one is longer. Okay, for this one, our clutch cable is in the way, so I'm going to get an 8mm wrench. Well, let me see. I'll be able to get this in here. Yeah, I can sneak it under there. Okay, third one is the same size as number 2. All right, number 4 is another one of the longer ones. All right, for this one we can bend this metal bracket up out of the way. Number 5 is long as well. Six is long. 7 long. 8 long. 9 also long, so there are only 2 shorter ones in there. and they were 2 and 3 here. Okay, now these are off. Let's check the seal on here. Okay, actually this cable here is now loose. So if we move this all the way down, I think we should be able to pull this, slide this out. Let's see, I don't know if I can get it past this rail or not. Right now, let's try to, okay, so the case just on there firmly with the gasket, and I'm hoping to reuse this gasket. They say just to go ahead and replace them every time because they're cheap, but I didn't order one. Just gonna gently work it. I can feel the gasket with one hand behind here. Slide this out now. Okay, gasket is out. This is what our pin is looking like back here. If you can see it. Just work it out. All right. So our gasket is still in pretty good condition. There's no rips in it. That's good. There's one locating pin right here to keep it there. And let's see, yep, there's another locating pin that stayed right here. So we can either leave it there or we can pull it out and stick it in here. Either way, they just help you line this up and keep your gasket in the right place. So before I put this back on, I'm going to go ahead and clean up the gasket because there is some gunk on it and I want to make it nice and smooth again. Okay, let me show you a little more close up what this looks like. You'll see lots of gears and stuff around behind it, but we're not gonna mess with any of that stuff. The plates are, you can see the plates back here. So there are 3 bolts with springs holding this on right now. So we are going to loosen these up and remove them. But we're kind of going to loosen one, kind of like putting on a wheel on your car so that it's not overly tightened in one place because it's going to be backing out. That spring is going to be pushing it back towards us. All right, and these 3 bolts are all 10 millimeter. So I'm just going to start loosening one, another. Go around like this. All right, I'm going to remember that this mark up here is on the top and put it back on the same way. Keep these same bolts in here. All right, now these springs can come out. We have replacement springs in our kit, so we're going to replace these. And yeah, don't mess with you don't need to mess with that at all. I'm going to take this out. Okay, my numbers were in the upper left, so when I take these pieces off, I'm just going to lay them flat down on the ground in the same order that I took everything off, so I can put it all back on correctly, including each of these plates. So friction plate, and then metal plate with no friction, and now you can grab a little pick or your screwdriver so you can get these things off because they start to be recessed. All right, just got a little pick here so I can reach in behind and pull them off. Okay, so another friction plate. Metal plate. Friction plate. Come on, metal plate. And then, three came out at the same time there. So friction plate, metal plate, friction plate. And then we're down to, that's all the plates out of there now. Okay, for the gasket area, you can see where it's pretty clean here. I'm just taking a clean paper towel or cloth towel, shop rag, that's what I'm trying to say, and rubbing it off, and it's coming off fairly well. Looks like at the factory they put some kind of a little bit of sealant on here. So I'm just going to go around the whole thing and clean it up. Alright, and then I'm going to do the same thing around here. You can see this is pretty dirty. So I'm just going to wipe it down. It's actually smooth here, it's just discolored, so I just want to make sure that if there's any dirt or grime, I get it all off. Just go all the way around there. Okay, luckily I looked at the manual because I might not have noticed this, but see, this is the last plate that we took off, so the one furthest on the inside, it has a groove on here. Every fourth one is grooved, and plate number 2 that goes on is the same way, number 3 that goes on is the same way, but the last 2 actually have no grooves. They have this, but it's actually capped off on top, so it's the groove only goes halfway through. So the 2 plates to the furthest of the outside, meaning the ones we took off first, are actually grooved like this. And I also noticed that the inside and outside ones are slightly different colors, but they're all exactly the same size. And the new kit that I got, it seems like 2 of them are a different size, so I'm gonna have to look at these. All right, there's another difference with the metal plates. As you can see, one of them has a narrower outside ridge and the other one is thicker. So the This is the order they came off the bike here. This one came off first, and so let's see if I can line it up. So once you lay it on this, you can see this one has a larger inner diameter. The teeth don't stick in as far as the other one, so all of the other metal plates are like this one. They're thicker on the inside, so the outer one is thinner, so make sure that that one goes on the outside, and then all the other ones are the same. All right, for example, here are the new clutch plates. You might be able to see it easier here. So you can see how this one is the one that's going to be on the outside of the bike. It's thinner. All the other ones are thicker material. 3 of those are going to go on the inside, outside. All right, so my clutch, the friction plates have been soaking for a couple hours now. But I am curious because none of them have notches like my OEM ones. But when I stand them up and hold them together, I can feel that these two here are actually thinner. You can see it down at the bottom. The two on the outside are thinner, then they have less friction circumference than these over here. So in the old ones there were 2 that went on the outside of the bike that did not have the notches, and there were 3 with notches that went on the inside. So I guess I'm going to assume that these 3 are the inside ones with notches. These 2 are on the outside. So I guess that's the way I'm going to assemble it. Okay, so I'm going to go backwards off of our stack of stuff we took off. So friction plate with notches was the first thing. So I'm going to grab our, flip these over so the ones that are thicker are on the top, so I can get these first. Just let them drip off a bit, and hopefully they fit. Okay, first one in there. Second, we had a thick metal plate. So we'll take a thick metal plate, we had friction plate with notches. So thick friction plate. Thick metal plate. Thick metal plate. Friction plate with notches. Thick friction plate. Thick metal plate. Thick metal plate. Friction plate with no notches. Oh, and it does seem like the friction plate is thinner on these. Yeah, friction plate is thinner, so that's a good sign. So hopefully all those notches was to help identify the order to put them in, and they don't actually do anything. So friction plate. And then our skinny metal plate. Skinny metal plate. Oh, interesting. So this one, oh, I think this is, somebody called this the neutral plate because it does not actually go in there, it just goes around. Let me check our old one just to make sure it was like this for peace of mind. This oil. Just curious. Yeah, all right, good. That one was the same way. And then lastly, one more thin friction plate. Drip. Okay, there we go. All of our plates are back on now. Okay, I think we just learned something very important. Instead of just stacking all of these on here and then putting the pressure plate on, the manual actually does say to put the last pressure plate and the last metal plate onto the back of the pressure plate first. And as you can see, it will line up with these grooves here. I think what was happening before when I just put them on here and put the pressure plate on, it wasn't seating properly in these grooves. Now, when I put it in here, so I think it was like this before, a little bit raised up, not all the way down. So it will be seated flush and the pressure plate is actually touching the top plate here. So when you put your springs on and your bolts, if you have to press it down to get these started, it's probably not seated correctly, because I can start these right now by hand easily. And now I'll go ahead and torque them down. Okay, I torqued these down to the proper spec, and now you can see that there is a tiny gap here, which there was not before. Okay, we got our new springs here. So we're going to put this back on to hold our plates in position. Lock that in. This was in the upper left corner before. And stick our new springs on. And I still have this in the same position with our mark in the top. Same bolts. So now I'm just going to get them started by hand. And now to tighten them a little at a time, back around in a circle again.
Stuff it one side all the way tightened and the other side is not even.
Okay, these bolts are 8.83 Newton meters is what the spec calls for on tightening those. According to Siri, it's 78.5 inch-pounds is 8.83 Newton meters. So since I have inch-pounds on my torque wrench, that's what we're gonna torque it to. About there. So yeah, it's snug but not tight at all. All right, another tip, make sure this little bearing that's in here does not fall out when you have it out, or else you'll have to take everything back off and put that bearing in. Okay, so I'm guessing what this does is hooks onto here. So when you're pulling your clutch in, it pulls that thing, disengages the clutch plates. So hopefully I can just stick this back in pretty easily with the into the whole plate, and we can get it back together here. So not exactly sure how this is gonna all come together, but we'll give it a shot. Pull this out of the way. Try to set it on here kind of gently first. Oops. A lot of stuff that's getting in the way here. Okay. I'm going to pull this out, put it in here. To help hold the gasket in place. I guess some people use gasket sealer on here, which you probably should. I just don't have any. And if nothing else, it would help the gasket stay in place as you're doing this, not flopping around like mine is. I'm going to get this back in here as well before it's too late. Okay. Good. Looks good. Still feel the gasket around there. Oops. Okay, so pull this out a little bit. Allows it to seat on here flush. I still feel the gasket. Now I can push that back into place. Line our stuff up. I'm going to take the first bolt that I removed, Put it in here. Just to kind of lock it down so it doesn't fall off again. And the second bolt, one of the shorter ones. Okay, just hand tighten a couple so this isn't gonna go anywhere. I just kind of want to look around and make sure that everything looks good and lined up. All right, I think that should be good. I'm just going to go around and put all of the bolts in by hand. This one here is the hard one because it's so close to the clutch cable. This is the only one that was any trouble at all.
Continue around the circle. Put this bracket back on.
Okay, for the clutch cover, each of these bolts is 9.8 Newton meters, or that is 87 inch-pounds. So, torque all these down.
And this one I'm also going to do it, not just all in a row, kind of skip around.
Some of these are going to be tough to get my torque wrench on. Gonna get a little extension. Okay, we got them all now. So don't forget to put the drain plug back in because we're going to fill this up with oil. All right, now we do need to get the bike level. I'm going to put it up on one of my stands so that we can fill this up halfway full. I usually have a funnel for this, but I don't know where it is right now. One. Actually, that was about a little more than half a quart because that's the bottle I opened to use to soak our plates in. All right, the first one was about a little more than half a quart because it's the one I had opened to soak the clutch plates in. So I actually don't remember how much oil this takes, but I got 4 quarts, so hopefully less than that. Brilliant, brilliant. All right, our sight glass is starting to move up here a little bit. All right, you can see we're about 3, I don't know if you can see, let's see. All right, you can see we're about 3/4 of the way full here, anywhere between the bottom here and the top here is fine. So I'm going to start it up, let it run for a little while, and that might get rid of some air in there or help the oil circulate, so it might need a little bit more afterwards, but that's probably it. This is like super loose, so when I pull the clutch in, the clutch just stays in and doesn't pull the actual, pull the handle in, it just stays in. It doesn't, the spring isn't tight enough to release it. What did I do? Oh, this seems kind of firm. All right, well, it was super easy to disconnect this. And so this is the travel. Now it's not even springy at all. So, I mean, I can move it down to here. And if I pull it out enough, it free travels around. But there's only one spot that it goes in at all, which is kind of how it looked like it should. But now there's like no springiness at all. It's not catching on anything in there. Okay, after opening the cover again, I can see that this does not stay out, and I assume it needs to be further out so that the pin here can grab it around this collar to pull it out when pulling in the clutch. So, gotta figure this out. So when putting this in, they say to have this at the 3 o'clock position. Then you can push it all the way in and then go 180 degrees this way so that it will catch the pin, and so that when you push up, you shouldn't be able to push it up freely. This is where it should be disengaging the clutch with the cable. But in my case, it was just free like this. So I think that the part here in the middle was just not engaging the pin. And if you look at the pin, I have it on the side now, so gravity is pulling it down, but it can come out about this far and then it goes down in there with the bearing. So maybe if I had just leaned the bike all the way to the right, this would stay out and let it catch, but I'll investigate. So I guess this is supposed to catch the pin like this, and then when it rotates, it's supposed to pull that up somehow, but without this whole pin moving up and down, can't figure out the physics of how that actually works. Okay, I lined up these holes with the actual splines here. When this cover is off, you can rotate this. Yeah, so I assumed that this was clutched and declutched for some reason, but if this is the standard position and it needs to go further where I can't push it to declutch, then there's like almost zero travel left in this cable where it has to be attached to, so that doesn't make sense either. Hopefully you guys found this video helpful as well, and you will like and subscribe to my channel if you have not already. Appreciate it. Thanks.